What's up guys, my name is Ace, and I've been getting a lot of requests lately for how to make my emblem in Black Ops 3's Emblem Creator. So today, that's what I'm going to be sharing with you guys. One thing to keep in mind with this is I basically just messed around with a bunch of things until I made it work and made it look decent enough to where I was happy with it. So it is a pretty weird looking thing when you actually look at all the layers, but just bear with me, I'll go through it kind of step by step. And you should be able to emulate this if that's something that you want to do, if you want to have an XA emblem ready to go to put on. So first off, we do have a background here. It's a gradient background. This background's actually irrelevant since it's under this one, but we'll get the background later. That's the last step. So first we just made a black circle. And we made it pretty much as big as we could make it while maintaining it in a circular shape and not going outside of the lines or anything too far. Or at all. We can't go outside of the lines at all. We have to actually leave a little bit of room because the X actually sticks out a little bit outside the circle. Then we made a gray tone circle that's just a little bit smaller. It's still centered on that same black one. You just want to make it just slightly smaller and a little bit of a lighter color. And then we did that again with a much lighter color. That would be, let's just see if I can show you this ring like highlighted in red there. It just kind of pokes through a little bit. And what this does is it basically just adds a little bit of depth, I find, to it. So that's why I just did that. And then finally we have our actual like background surface with our emblem, which I'll just show you the color that I use just in case you want to color the cover exactly. And you can see all those little rectangles in there. We're going to talk about those in a little here. But I use, if you start at the black in the top right corner, I went down 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 4 colors down from the black. That is the color that I used for my background here. And we have our background circle. So from there, we'll ignore these little squigglies. Those are like after things. First, this is the hardest part, is getting that shape of the X so it kind of curves downwards nicely. This is where I struggled the most. And I ended up using the shape called, what is that? The smile outline. So it looks like a little smiley face. And I just got it to the shape that I wanted it here. So I'll bring this up a little bit so you can see what it, like a few layers up here, see what it actually looks like. In red there. So it's just like a weird smiley face that I rotated down like that, and I just got that general shape and made sure it was exiting the circle at around that point. Now a lot of this is you'll have to kind of like shift the X and the A around a little bit after the fact, but you just kind of have to wing it at first, and then you can always move stuff around. So we'll just bring that back down to where it was. It was down here. So once you place that, you are going to have a weird smiley face sticking out. So that's where these rectangles come in. So this rectangle here, you just make it the same color as the background and make sure it's a higher layer than that smiley face, and you can use it to cover up the tail of that smiley face. So that's what that little rectangle there does, as well as this one here. I guess they're squares, not rectangles, whatever. They're rounded squares. This one is also doing that same thing. It's, oh, wrong one actually. Oh no, now I have to find my color again to match it. Alright, we matched it. This one here, you notice there's a little tiny rectangle over here, square. That's just covering up the end of that tail, so that's what I did. That's what those two are, just covering up the end of that. Then we get what is called a golf flag, they call it. And then you just free transform it, and you make your little point that forms the upper part of the X, as you can see there, kind of highlighted in green. And you just make it extend out and just poke just a little bit outside of the circle there. And pretty much straightforward there. That one can always be shifted around as things go along. Next we use one called mane. It's like the little horse's tail basically. This one is forming the other upper part of the X. So you can see in yellow there. And I'll show you the whole shape because it looks kind of weird, but we're going to be covering that up again with a rectangle or a square and everything to make sure it fits nicely. But that's where that is. So we'll just bring that back down and make it black again. Make it black again. There we go. Alright, so next we want to cover up the tail of that. So you'll see we did another one of these rectangles here that just basically cuts it off there. So the bottom part of that mane doesn't poke out at all. It's completely hidden there because we have this rectangle that's the same color. And then finally we use, I think this is called an igloo, which is very appropriate with me being Canadian and everything. We use an igloo as a little bit of a bridge here. Just to kind of complete that little X there where everything intersects, because it looks really weird getting all those shapes together in that X. This just kind of completes that shape. So it just goes on top of all that, and it's just black, so it covers it up, and that just makes for a decent looking X. I know it's not perfect, but I'm not the greatest person at making these emblems. Oh, I forgot to mention, there's also, for the bottom part of the X, this is just another one of those golf flags, and you'll see where I have it there. Very straightforward. You just make it to that shape and length that you want using the free transform tool, and everything will work out, and then you should have your X. And now we can move on to the A, and the A is a whole lot more simple than the X. It is basically just the basic triangle form here is just going to be 4 different golf flags in their shapes that you need to stretch them into. You'll see my first one is just the bottom part of the A like that. That's that red you can see there. And then we'll move on to the second one, which is just a flipped version, which is the top part, and it's a little bit shorter and fatter. Just try and make sure they're the same width at the bottom, and they should line up nicely. And then basically the same thing goes with the other side. You just change the size of them a little bit. So if I just show you the top part there, you can see that's a little golf flag thing. Oh, don't want to leave it red. We need it black. And then we have the bottom part, which is just a flipped golf flag. Once again, make sure their bases match up nicely, and it will look just fine. And then we just finish it off with another igloo, which is this piece right here, this little bridge between the A's. And you just make that black, and there you go. You have your X and your A. Like I said, it's going to take you a little while, like moving those around to get them to look just right and fit perfectly in the circle, right where you want them to fit. And once you get that done, then you can add little things like the squigglies here. So these little squiggly lines in the background, it's just to add like a little bit of depth or something, I guess. It's really not required. It's just something that I thought I would add. And I think I made it like 2 shades lighter than the background. Yeah, 2 shades lighter than the background. So it just barely kind of pops out. You can barely see it, but it definitely is there. So I added just a few of those little squigglies. And then finally for the background, we just did a gradient. Now, if you're not familiar with gradients, you just have to create a big rectangle shape, just make it bigger than the entire, like make it cover the entire surface area or painting area. Then we go to our color picker, and if you're in the color picker here and you see these colors, all you have to do is toggle to gradient with X. So if you use X, that'll toggle to a gradient, and with this you can pick your colors. So I just picked like a nice dark, or a light gray on one side and then a dark gray on the other. So the left side I went with like a lighter color, and then the darker color was on the right hand side, and we just want to move that around and bump it up and just find the gradient that we like, basically. And you can rotate the gradient if you wanted to, or you can change the opacity, but I kind of like it the way it was before, so I'm just going to discard the changes there, and you can kind of see right there how that gradient works out. I added a little bit of blue in there. You don't have to go blue, you can do whatever you want for background, but that's really basically all you have to do to create my emblem. It does take a lot of shuffling around, a lot of playing around to get everything to line up right with the X and the A, but once you get it, it looks quite nice, and I really look forward to hopefully seeing a few of you guys in the lobby that have an XA logo. I know it's a little bit more work than like a yin yang or something like drifters, but hopefully you guys will still use it and enjoy it. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will talk to you guys next time.